Right, hello everyone, and welcome back to Only One Hotspur podcast. Today we are reviewing the Manchester United game, obviously the game on Friday. We're going to go straight in with our general thoughts on the game, and I'll come straight over to you, Nathan. What was your general thoughts on the 1-1 draw?
In my opinion, we started all right, but when we got the goal, we pushed on, and then you could see Mourinho didn't really want to change a lot over the course of the game. He wanted to stick with the same team, see what it would see, like their fitness levels. But first half, I'd said we dominated Man U. They didn't really have a lot, except for that Davinson Sanchez header, what led to Rashford nearly scoring. But then we got the goal by Bergwijn, what was quality finish, but De Gea should have saved it. And second half, we just backed off, got deeper and deeper and deeper. And I knew when Dyer got turned by Pogba, Dyer is Dyer, and I knew he was going to do something stupid. And that second penalty, if that was given, I'd have lost my head. But what do you think, Wes?
I think for me, watching it was a bit strange. First and foremost, seeing the ground on TV, because I'm usually there. And then seeing it without fans again was slightly strange. But general thoughts on the actual game, I think we started off okay. I think it took us a while to get any sort of rhythm going. I think you could see Jose's plan. It was to sort of sit in, frustrate United, don't allow them the opportunity to counter-attack and actually counter-attack them, which is something that I don't think they're too hot on defensively. But I think probably overall draw is a fair result. If you look at the way the balance of play and the state of the game, United dominated the ball. For me, didn't do anywhere near enough with it. But then you could credit us for being, quite solid defensively and keeping really two banks of four. And a lot of the time it was Lamela and Kane sort of up top. And Lamela half the time was probably our furthest player forward. But like I say, with United dominating the ball, I think, they were pressure, and I think that pressure was always going to tell in the end. It's an interesting one because that's the style of play, I guess, that we may have to become a bit more accustomed to as Tottenham fans. It's not what we're used to, but this is Jose's way, especially in the bigger games, to frustrate the opposition, nick a goal like we did, really, because I think there wasn't much in the game at all up until that point. And then, nick a goal and then, try and defend what we've got. How many times have you seen Mourinho do that over the years? Chelsea, Real Madrid, Inter Milan, most famously as well. I think in the end the draw was probably fair. Bit frustrating though because we had the lead. I thought actually defensively we were very, very solid for the first time in a long time. But then when you're parking double-decker buses and limousines and Range Rover, 4x4 cars, Range Rovers and all that, you're bound to be defensively solid. Like I said, I think on the whole, a draw was fair. I do think it's a penalty as well. I think Pogba's just done Dyer, and I think there's two bits of contact on the shoulder, and then he sort of takes his legs a little bit as well. Although Pogba has been quite clever with it, he's enticed it slightly, but for Dyer, just don't allow him to give you that opportunity to do that. Like I say, is what it is. I think we move on now to West Ham on Tuesday, and that's a game that we have to win. Joe, what are you thinking?
Yeah, well, I think it was quite an interesting game in some ways because it took both teams obviously a while to get going, which is understandable because we haven't had much time to get ready for the game. In normal circumstances, we haven't really been able to train as a team for for a lot, probably the right amount of time. We've had 3 months off. You could tell both teams, it took a while to get used to it. I feel it took the goal to get the game going as well a little bit. I think, Stevie running at them, obviously caused them the problems. Harry Maguire, I don't know where he went. And then David De Gea, I don't know what he was doing either. I'm not complaining that one bit, but obviously, I think in the second half, I think it weren't so much necessarily just dropping back. I don't think that was necessarily the game plan as much as we wanted it to be. I think it was sort of what Mourinho said after as well, of like the attacking players. Obviously, most of them were just coming back from injuries. They didn't have the legs. So when we got it, we couldn't push on. We couldn't, we didn't see that as much in the second half until we did concede, really. It was just sort of almost like an attack v defence, really, wasn't it? For large parts of that second half. It was interesting that he said that, but he hasn't tried to freshen it up that little bit more. Obviously, only used 2 out of the 5 subs, and I think, as I said, I remember messaging you saying, he said this, but could have maybe brought on Cess. I think obviously he's got, he's quick, he's got the energy. I think that could have maybe been something else. But the penalties, I think you see the Pogba one. I think that was a bit of a 50-50. Sometimes you see him given, sometimes you don't. I think if that was not given, I look at it as going, would VAR overrule it? And that being an interesting one. I'm not complaining too much at that one because I'd be appealing for it if it was for us. But if the other one was given, but we'll get on to that in a little bit, I think. But because I think, what was it? We'll go into that now. So obviously the big talking points of the games, or of the game. Wes, I'll come to you on this. What would you think the big points of the game were? And
can we just have Roy Keane on this bit? Because his half-time rant is probably, I haven't seen anything like that since DT, Troops, and the AFTV guys. So that was box office Roy Keane. Roy Keane at his best. Obviously, you have to mention both goals. I think you made a good point there. It took a goal to really sort of get the game going. I think, Nathan, you mentioned Rashford's chance in the first half. I think that's a big chance.
Yeah.
United were pretty on top. I think United looked really sharp, if I'm honest, in those opening exchanges. And I think if that goes in, obviously it's a completely different game, completely different dynamic. So we sort of scored. It was fairly against the run of play, I'd say. But I think that sparked a little something in us, and then we got playing again. And then second half, it was fairly. I think it was all United. I think they were camping in our half, like they were waiting for Glastonbury to start or something. Do you know what I mean? So it was. Then obviously the Pogba penalty. As I mentioned, I think that's a penalty. I think De Gea's save as well from Son. I think that's a big moment. I know Roy Keane said De Gea should be catching it, but and I think that's a really good save because I think if we go 2-0 up, I can't see United getting back into the game. I think Hugo's save from Martial was a big moment because
the save?
Again, United really brought it to us second half. And I think if that goes in, then it's like, right, okay, we are really under the cosh with that. So fair play to Hugo for stepping up when called upon. I think that late penalty, I looked at it and I was like, I didn't actually see what the referee had given at first. And then I looked back, and then I was like, he can't be giving that, surely. Like I was just saying, like, no, he can't. I was fuming, and whatnot. So yeah, I think those were the sort of key. I actually think as well. I know we're probably going to go on to it in a bit, but I think United's substitutions made a massive difference. You can see they've got the strength in depth that perhaps we are lacking, and probably have lacked for a while now, really. I know there's been a lot of talk of, well, actually, if anybody's coming in, they want to play, and can they improve on what we've got? But then, we need options, we need numbers. I think that's been Mourinho's, I wouldn't say downfall, but one thing that he's not had is the numbers, to really, work with everybody and what we've got. So I think, was I buzzing with a point? I think it could have been a lot worse, really, because I think United are probably feeling they should have come away with 3 points, especially the way they played second half.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. What about you, Nathan? What do you think are the big points in the game?
The big points for me is the 2 Lloris saves, the Martial one and Rashford. Because at first the Rashford one, if he scored that, would have been a completely different game. We would have had to gone at Man U more. And then the Lloris one, it was like the 70th minute when he saved that. So that would have given Man U a boost to really push on and try grab them 3 points. And I'm going to pick up on, as Wes said, the substitutions. They brought like the depth, like Greenwood, 2-footed, left and right. Ben Davies was like, you could see Ben Davies was slowly tiring out near the end. And when Greenwood came on, that made his task even like harder, because he could shift onto both feet. And that chance near the end where he dashed it across goal, I thought either like someone was coming in or it was going to creep in. And then also the Son moment. I felt like Son, if he realised how much time he had, he could have brought it down and maybe even had because I can't remember, but I don't know if anyone was around him at the time. So if he brought that down, he could have easily slotted it in, or De Gea might have saved it, or a block on the line or something. So we had the chances, but they also did as well. So it's a mix. So I would say, a draw for both sides is fair. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. I think I'll go straight onto that Son moment. I feel he had to take it on his head.
Yeah.
But I do feel he should be doing better there. I think it was a bit too close to where De Gea was. Obviously, De Gea was coming across the goal, and it was like, I think that is a save De Gea should be making. I'm not with Roy Keane on that he should be catching it, however. However, I do feel that is a save he should be making. Then again, with the one he let in, you never know. But yeah, I think Son should be scoring that, and that would have made it 2-0. And I think I agree with you, Wes. I think if it's 2-0, with the way we played then, I can't see United getting 2 goals. They might have grabbed 1, but 2 I couldn't see happening. Obviously, Stevie's goal was a big part in the game. I think, I just love the guy. I love the guy. He's just got that. He's just got a bit of excitement in him. I think when he gets the ball, we sort of feel excited, a bit like when Son gets it as well. Because he can drive at players like he's shown. And I'm really excited for the rest of the games now to see what else he can deliver. I feel, and I've got to mention Lloris's saves. He was brilliant in that game. I think we've been waiting for a game from Lloris like that for quite a while, especially against the big teams. I think when we play the big teams, Lloris doesn't cover himself in glory all the time. I am.
He's probably still on the vino, Joe. To be fair to him, like, give the guy a break. You know what I mean? Give him a break. Priorities, and all that.
But no, I think he was fantastic. Them 2 saves were massive saves, and that one from Martial was a fantastic save. Because I'm pretty sure it took a slight nick off Dyer as well. Maybe brushed him. So I think that is a world-class save. And obviously, with a penalty, you can't put that on the race. I'm sure someone probably would have.
Yeah, someone would have said, "Oh, you can say."
You dived the wrong way. You dived the wrong way. Well bad, But yeah, I'll quickly mention the penalties as well. Obviously, as I said, the first one, I think it's a 50-51. Yeah, probably sway more towards the given. I have to admit, but the second one, I personally don't see how he has not been booked. I don't see how he's not been booked. Like, I've said this to quite a few people, and it actually infuriates me. Because we've seen it quite a lot. Since VAR has come in, okay, when they look at a penalty, and it's not a penalty, and it is a dive, and you can quite clearly see that, when has the referee gone and booked the player for diving?
Exactly.
I cannot, and I'm not just saying this about Fernandes as well, and I had to make that clear to some of the people who I was talking about, because I think they were feeling that I was attacking Fernandes a bit. But there was Sterling at, when we played City.
That should be a yellow card. Yeah, he should be off.
And it's not just these. I'm sure there's been other incidents as well. Like, there's probably been one from Zaha. Let's face the fact. Players like that. I think that is a problem, because the season before VAR came in, they were really trying to stamp down on the diving and everything. But players are probably doing it more again, because they think, well, if there's a slightest nick, they could look at that, slow it down from VAR, and go, oh no, look, there's contact there. When in reality, he's literally just touched him with his fingernail or something, and he's gone down like he's been shot. Like, and that's something what really infuriates me. If you couldn't tell, to be honest. We'll go into players who made a big impact, and I think, Nathan, obviously you mentioned the subs, so we'll come to you on this one first. I think, who would you say had a big impact on the game?
So I'll start off with Tottenham. Who do you bring on? Jedson Fernandes and who is it?
Lo Celso.
Gio.
Come on, Gio.
He brought on, like, as Mourinho said before the game, he made himself available for it. And you could see Gio wasn't fully fit, but he still gave everything. Like, every time, like, a teammate would lose the ball, he's like a young Eric Lamela, in my opinion, because he just gives that aggression, but he'll turn into Lamela as the years go on at Tottenham. But you could see.
I hope he stays fit. If he's turning into Lamela,
Yeah, that's the thing. Jedson, I didn't really think he made a lot of an impact, but you could see he's got to learn, and he's come in January. He already had he had 3 months off, and he needs to adapt to the Prem. However, you could see Man U, their quality off the bench, bringing on Paul Pogba, a World Cup winner, who just made Dyer look stupid. He just done him so easy.
Shots fired.
And how he controlled the pass he did to Rashford. I thought when he did that pass, Rashford was going to get onto it, and it just flashbacks to Wembley when Rashford slotted it in the far corner. And then
we don't want to talk about that.
Matics, I wish we could sign him. I'm not joking. He's so calm on the ball. You could see what Mourinho, that's why Mourinho wanted him at Tottenham and Chelsea. He's so calm on the ball, and just, he'll keep the ball whenever. He'll stay back. He'll do a defensive job. He'll intercept if you need him to. It's just a simple player, basic player. and when he was at Chelsea with Kante, unbelievable. Greenwood, when Greenwood and Igalo gives that presence up front, what they can feed off, and literally, I'm pretty sure we were linked with him in January on loan, but he rejected us.
We were linked with everyone in January. We were linked with everyone in January.
Like, I saw we were linked with Igalo on loan, and then he rejected us to go Man U, and then you got Greenwood. What a player! Like, in my opinion, he'll be the next talent at Man U. I think, in my opinion, how he's both footed, he can cut in either foot. Like the goal against Watford, like a couple months ago, just what a goal! And Newcastle, it's just unbelievable. Their squad depth compared to ours, on the other hand. Like, if we had Lucas and Dele, I could see, like, we could bring on Bergwijn, Lamela, Gio, Jedson, Sessegnon, like 5 options. However, we didn't have that at the time. So we moved. So what do you think, Wes, about the subs?
I think, like I mentioned earlier, the subs were key for United. I think, personally, Matic made more of an impact in the game than Pogba did. Don't get me wrong, you saw flashes from Pogba of, I guess, what his reputation beholds. But I think if you're looking at somebody that came in and made such a massive impact on the game, I think it was Matic. I think you said it there, Nath. He was very, very calm on the ball, and I think that just influenced the game. And you know, it was sort of the game was played at his tempo and at his pace. And I think I actually said to my dad about Matic, and it was like, well, you know, there's loads and loads of Spurs fans moaning that we were linked with him, but he's exactly what we need now. You know, he just controlled the game, but actually, when the moments were there for him to you know, really assert his authority on the game and go and win the ball back, I think he'd done it a lot. Stopped our counter-attacks a lot as well. Greenwood looks lively. I think he's always looked it, though, when I've seen him play. Always looks like he can do a little bit. So, yeah, but then I think in terms of Spurs, like, I think our starting 11, I think by and large we did all right. I just think it was, you know, the weariness of the legs that really caught up on us. And that's why Mourinho probably had to make the changes he did. I think had we had, say, a couple of games before this United game, he'd have probably stuck with that 11, I think, because I think the game plan was pretty good, was going pretty well, and it was going to, well, according to plan, pardon the pun. But yeah, I think Dyer had a really, really good game at centre half until he got sent for a hot dog by Pogba. And I actually think Aurier had a decent game. Didn't try and kill anyone, which was a bonus. But no, I think Aurier was actually defensively pretty sound. I know Joe's looking at me as if I'm speaking French or something, but I actually think Aurier done quite well. I was really concerned with the actual starting, and everyone was like, Dyer and Sanchez at centre back. What? Not gonna lie, I was one of them. But I think, you know, between the pair of them, I thought defensively we were really, really solid. And Dyer's, that's like Eric Dyer that we have wanted, I guess, for a while. It's just not happened. It's not come. But then, you know, you get your appendix out. I don't think that's right on it. Like, you know, it's not right on anyone really. That's going to affect you. So I think, like I say, our starting 11 actually done all right. I think Lamela, you could tell, was a bit rusty. Just took that extra touch when he didn't need to. I think there was a couple of times he could have played in Son and even Kane. But yeah, just taking that extra touch, it sort of killed the moment. Speaking of Kane, I think he put the kit on. Yeah, that's it. That's all I can say on Harry Kane. He put the kit on. I think I could probably count on one hand how many times he touched the ball. Completely anonymous, I think, for the majority of the game, which was disappointing because everybody was buzzing for him to be back. Yeah. I know you can go in and say, well, you know, the way we played didn't help him, granted, but then when other players are ahead of you and you're supposed to be the main focal point of the team, that doesn't really doesn't really help. I know I spoke on the preview of Kane playing with his back to goal. I think he tried to do it, but allowed Maguire to get ahead of him and win a lot of things in the air. So yeah, I guess Kane's a bit rusty. His first game in 6 months. So he's had that hamstring injury and having to come back from that. So yeah, but like you say, I think United's squad depth. They had Mata on the bench as well, who's a game changer. Lingard bringing energy. That's probably the only thing he does, probably Lingard, because he doesn't assist or score. But he brings something else in that final third. So yeah, I just think United had those game changers on the bench, whereas ours were injured and suspended in Lucas and Dele. So yeah, that's it from me. Joe, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I think, as you said, I think our starting 11 did do their jobs. I think they worked hard. Obviously, I also think Sissoko, to be fair, didn't have a bad game. I know you said that he nearly cost us a few times, but when it mattered at the end, like, he did make a couple of very important contributions. Like that one where the pass would look like it was going through, and he's like stretched out, intercepted it. But after that, he literally looked like he was dead. So I can't see, which shows the fitness levels of the team weren't probably where they could have been. But yeah, I think I agree with you on what else, on the other key players. Like, there's no point of going over that again. Like,
I think we actually need to talk about that tackle from Davinson Sanchez, because that was world class and something that's gone completely under the radar.
Yeah, I fully agree. But there's also that tackle from Dyer as well, if you remember as well. Like, them two tackles both went unnoticed. Just because I feel that Sky are so biased towards like United and Liverpool's. Like, they were going on and on about the passes leading up to the chances where obviously Dyer and Sanchez both had to do them tackles. And I don't think they actually barely mentioned the tackles. They went, oh yeah, it's an all right challenge after. All right, behave. Like, and things like that actually infuriate me. Like,
but this is the thing for me. I think, like, if it's Van Dijk, Maguire,
oh my
God,
someone, yeah,
even like Tomori or Rudiger, like Chelsea, like, Sky and whatnot, they'd be showing it on loop, but because it's Tottenham and they're not big fans of us, it's just brushed under the carpet.
It really angers me. I was going mad after that, and I was. I think my dad, I think, had enough of me going on about it. I think he was like, Joe, shut up now. Like, if you don't like Sky that much, I'll cancel it.
If you don't like oh dear.
So, you know what I mean?
Brilliant.
He's cancelled Sky. And to be fair, if the football season was still going ahead, obviously I'd be at the games really. So I'd be like, yeah, cancel it. I've had enough of them. Don't give them the money. You know what I mean? It's, but obviously we do need it in a minute. So shut up. But yeah, I think that leads us onto something. Who would you say our man of the match was? And man of the match for us and man of the match overall in the game. I'm not 100% sure if I agree with Fernandes being man of the match, because he felt like a bit like Eriksen with his corners for me. He couldn't beat the first man, could he?
That's like Son though, wasn't it? Son couldn't beat the first man either.
Well, Son's corners either didn't beat the first man or they were too deep.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah. I think we need to go and get somebody that can take a good set piece. I think
that'll be Gio. Don't worry.
Dombele.
But yeah, to answer your question, I think it's a really tough one because I think we had a few players that played well, but then I think our levels have dropped dramatically to the point where Serge Aurier does a tackle and doesn't clean a man out. We're saying Serge had a good game. That's a great tackle, Serge. Like,
I'm still not, don't worry.
but do you know what I mean? I think our levels dropped that sort of significantly that, you know, I don't think we really expect much now for a player to put in a good performance. Sissoko runs about and it's like he had a great game. No, he ran about, like that was it. You know, so like I said, I think, like I mentioned before, I think Dyer before the penalty was fantastic. I don't. Jose must be spinning him some stuff in Portuguese or something because he's come out like a whole new man. Eric Dyer. Not a big fan of the trim, I must admit, but yeah,
that's what I'm going for next, mate. Calm it down.
So yeah, like I said, I think Aurier done well, but then Aurier's standards aren't, you know, there's not much for him to beat. Hugo come up with important saves at important moments. I think Lamela did well, gave us some good energy and stuck McTominay 6 foot up in the air when the ball's no.
I mean, that made me. Oh, that was amazing.
I mean, how Lamela did not get booked.
He just went through the back of him.
Yeah, how he did not get booked was the biggest crime I think I've probably ever seen at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Like how he's.
I'm not going to lie. I was crying for about 5 minutes after that tackle. That was absolutely hilarious. He's like, McTominay, don't like you, mate. See you later. And like, sorry. Absolute legend.
But yeah, I think for us, probably Dyer stood out for me. I think, you know, he's coming for a lot of criticism, not only this season, but last season as well. And I think he actually shut a few people up personally. I know, as we've mentioned, he gave away one penalty and was very close to giving away another, which was rightly overturned. But, you know, looking overall, I think Dyer was probably our man of the match. In terms of the overall game, I don't know. I don't think there was one player that really stood out. And if it probably was, it was a substitute. So, you know, they've got half hour, 20, 25 minutes or whatever. So, yeah, I think it's quite difficult for me to really pick a standout player from the game overall because I think the game was quite tight. But no, for us, certainly Eric Dyer gets my vote.
Yeah. What about you, Nathan? Who would you pick?
I completely agree with Wes, to be honest. Eric Dyer, he looks like a different player at centre-back. Like, if you looked at him when he used to play in that defensive midfield role with, like, Winks or Moussa Dembele, but obviously Dembele's miles better. But he looked like this year when he played CDM, you could just see the Prem's, like, over the years, the Prem is getting quicker and quicker. And you could see he, like, lacked pace. And then he had his appendix out, what ruled him out for quite a bit last year. So it's sort of good that Mourinho's dropped him back into a centre-back because you could see he feels calm there. Like, I remember when near the corner flag, he just bodied Daniel James to the floor and then Dan James just came back and swiped him out. And you could see, like, Eric Dyer's a proper solid centre-back. When you've got Davinson Sanchez next to him, who's quick as well. So you could have, like, Eric Dyer's the firm, strong one, whilst you've got Davinson Sanchez, who's quick and strong. It sort of compares. Like, I know Toby Alderweireld's getting on now. He's still got them amazing passes. He makes errors as, like, Villa away. But he redeemed himself. It's just like small little errors for Toby. You can see he's not really, like, he's losing the pace of the Prem. And then for overall man of the match, did they actually give it to Bruno Fernandes then?
Yeah.
Well, I don't agree with that. Nah. It's just because he's a new signing and they're unbeaten under him.
And he put away a penalty. Congratulations.
Well done. You can have the man
but
match.
you say that City could do with him because they miss a few pens.
Hey.
So, do you know what I mean?
I thought when he was running up, I thought he was going to do the jump what he normally does. And I thought Lloris was going to save it if he did like the jump motion what he normally does. But it was I thought, nah, I just didn't have faith in Lloris. Like, he's saved many pens for us this year, but it's just Bruno Fernandes. He's probably like a brand new Prem. Like, the coaching staff should be showing them, like, look at his pens, but it's quite hard to predict a pen. So I don't really know for an overall man of the match, to be honest with you. It's quite hard because the subs for us weren't great, but then the subs for them were like they impact them, like they give them a boost, but not as much. So I don't really know. Joe, what are your thoughts of like the man of the match and overall man of the match?
Yeah, I think I would go Dyer, like without this. You know, with the penalty, I think if he wouldn't try to, muscle Pogba, we'd be going absolutely mental because he hasn't tried to. Yeah, he hasn't tried to do something. And I think you're being a bit harsh on him, saying he's got no pace. Like,
if you think about it, in defensive midfield, he's very slow.
No, but that's different. Like, I think that's not just speed. That's not sprint speed. That's like the turning. I think that's what Dyer struggled with. I don't think Dyer could cope with being able to look over his shoulder, receive the ball, turn. That's what I think he struggled with.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Dyer's passing is unreal, by the way.
That's
his
the
long
good
range
thing.
passing is good. He's
Exactly.
a good ball winning player, fantastic tackler, and I think putting him at centre half, he's got the game in front of him, and that is his best position. And I think that is his position to go forward. I think it's going to be between three centre backs now, realistically, until Tanganga comes back. Obviously, Toby, Sanchez, and Dyer. And I think Dyer's put in a massive claim to be a starter. Yes, he gave away a penalty, but I think, for us to overlook that, I think that says a lot on his overall performance. I think, other than that, he didn't actually put a foot wrong. He was solid. Exactly. He's good in the air, and he's a leader as well. You can tell he doesn't take any nonsense.
Like you saw when Serge,
he's loud. He communicates.
When Serge gave that, lost that battle with Rashford, you saw Lloris, him was shouting at Serge, "What are you doing? Just get rid of it." Like, you can tell he's a real leader. So he could be a captain for us one day.
I think Dyer got captain status for me when in the Battle of the Bridge, to be honest. Beating everyone up. But no, Joe, I agree with your point in the fact that Dyer, in that holding midfield role, whatever you want to call it these days, struggles with the game around him, because when you do play central, it's 360. And I don't think his thought process is quick enough to scan, receive, and play, which is what you need, minimum, to play in the middle of the park. But, I agree with you as well that when the game's in front of him, he's actually got less to really think about. So it sort of helps him in that respect. And I think actually in that particular season, that he played in holding midfield, the full season, I think there's a few cases whereby there's players that run off him and they've gone on to score. So I think it was Liverpool away, Coutinho scored by running off the back of Eric Dyer. Hazard ran off the back of him initially, and then Alderweireld, I believe, before he scored. So, like I say, I think there's obviously a few more. I can't think of them all off the top of my head right this second. But, I think there's a few cases whereby players do run off the back of Dyer and he just loses that half a second of focus and someone's in. Whereas I think at centre-half, you've got a bit more time to realistically deal with it. But no, I think his performance on Friday was fantastic, and that could be the start of something now for Eric Dyer and his Tottenham career, because he's, like I said earlier, he's had a lot of stick from people recently. A lot of people wanting him to go, or either go or just liven up. One of the two. It's completely up to him. I think he's definitely had a rocket up his backside, Like I said, I don't know if Jose's been spinning him some stuff in Portuguese or whatever, but yeah, like I said, I think his performance Friday was first class. First class.
That's the thing. I think obviously there's now talk of him getting that new contract as well, and I think that does show the belief what Mourinho has in him. And I'm personally quite happy with that. I think that saves us to sign him at the centre half, because obviously Jan's going. Let's face it, sadly. I think Boy most likely going, even if it's out on loan. But then we've still got 4 centre halves there, and they are all good centre halves. I am really intrigued to see who he starts with at the back against West Ham. To be honest with you, I think it'll be harsh to drop Dyer or Sanchez. I think Sanchez still doesn't fill me with. There's still moments in the game where you think, oh God, like that header,
Yeah.
like literally anywhere. He's like, oh God, look, there's Rashford there. Oh wait, he's not on my team. But you know, there's always a moment with Sanchez. Like, I do like him, don't get me wrong, but there is always that moment. I think that's fair to say. You know, he's either world class or 17-year-old making his debut, as I've said before. There's no in between.
I think with Sanchez, he gets away with so much. Like there's so many times that he will give a nudge in the back of a centre forward, and how it's not given, I do not know. I remember last season? Yeah, last season, I think, away at Everton.
I think, yeah.
Full on pushes Calvert-Lewin in the back, like fully bang, have that. Referee doesn't give it, and I was there like, what? How's he not give that? Like, how has that not been given? And I think there was one. It might have been with Rashford actually that I thought that could have been given. So he has those moments, but yeah, I think Davinson Sanchez is still a top centre half, and I think we need to have a bit more faith in him personally.
Can I also say he did it at Burnley as well this year. Chris Wood was on literally in the penalty area, and he just goes and shoves him in the back, and the ref says no pen. And then I thought, all right, VAR, obviously VAR is going to come into it saying pen. No, they don't even check it. I was just like, wait, what? Yeah, how have you got away with that? It's just stupid. But he's a good centre back. I rate him as a centre back.
Yeah, look, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I don't rate him. There's just them moments where I feel
dodgy moments where you're like,
he will always need an experienced head next to him. I think that's fair to say, and I think Dyer is that as well, because Dyer's been around for quite a while now. You know, he's still not the oldest, but he is still experienced. But I still love Toby. I know every now and then he does. You know, he might make a mistake, and it has happened a bit more recently. However, I still think he has got a couple more good years. And obviously, Mourinho, good defensive coach, has come in. So hopefully that will help him improve his game where it's sort of slacked off lately as well. But yeah, that's my thoughts on good old the defensive options now. Yeah, but that is it for this episode of the review of the Manchester United game. I hope we will be back on Tuesday with a preview for the West Ham game. So make sure you're looking out for that one. Make sure you follow us on all social media. You subscribe to our YouTube as well, and up the Spurs.